What is going on, Wolfpack Nation? Hope everybody's doing well this evening. Thank you so much for tuning in here with us. Again, we're going to be doing basically an hour-long conversation here. So for those who are tuning in with us right now, go ahead and send your comments, questions, concerns, thoughts, joys, whatever you want. Definitely want to hear it all. Obviously, a lot of good and a lot of bad we're going to be talking about here today. So, we got to get through it all. But obviously, the glaring thing, which I mean, is staring us right to the face, because again, I feel like it's always good to start with the bad and then build up to the good. So we can end on the high note. So the biggest news today that Wolfpack Crazy already let us know is obviously the decommitment of Sean Phillips, the 4-star, 6'10", 6'11", 7-foot big man, depending on where you look, decommitted today. And so, Macon, I'm curious, your thoughts specifically, because I know that of all of us here, that I know you're the guy that has the most love and just cherishes NC State men's basketball the most. Above all other sports, football or whatever. So I know I'm most curious to hear your thoughts. So I mean, whatever kind of rant you want to get off or whatever, or kind of what's your state of mind? Just go for it, brother.
Give him a 2-minute time limit.
Yeah.
I don't know about that.
First off, I feel like I haven't seen you guys in a while, so it's good to see you.
Yeah.
I'm not surprised about Sean Phillips. I mean, that's just recruiting, guys. I mean, when you have coaching turnover, you can expect to have some player turnover. And in this case, Mike Sumney was Sean Phillips' lead recruiter. It's just, I mean, it was kind of like, okay, I'd be more surprised if it didn't happen, put it that way. But I'm still disappointed. I mean, he got on one of I think the AAU circuits he's on, he was like reviewed like defensive player for that particular league he was in. And State could really use a defensive presence with Manny leaving. But there's guys that State can still find in the transfer portal. So I'm not more concerned than I was, put it that way. It's just a perception thing. Like when you're firing coaches, you lose Dillingham. Now you've lost Phillips, and you've lost Manny. A few other players have left. It's just kind of like, well, I'm not surprised, but it's just the thing where people look at you when it comes to recruiting rankings. The average fan who does not know will see, oh, well, State got a decommitment, and they, maybe they notice that Manny Bates left, but it's frustrating when you see that happen. But then you also see guys like Armando Bacot and Leaky Black come back to Carolina, and it's a totally different culture right now. So I hate to say that, but it is. But yes, they can get guys in the transfer portal. He was a freshman guy. I think you need young stud talent like that. So you don't just find guys like that. You can find older guys who've played well, but it's just you don't know if you may have had a just absolute stud just walk away. More often than not, you're not regretting something like that, because a lot of times it's less likely for it to happen that a guy that you don't get just blows up somewhere else. It doesn't often happen that way, but it could. So especially because this is a position State needs.
Yeah. Well, because this one tweet here, which I think really stood out to me, was from Barstool Pack. And he basically lists, as of right now, so basically the players are currently, as we know, committed to the team next year. So meaning Big T and Sebron aren't on this list because they're not necessarily committed yet. They're still filling out the NBA draft process. But basically for guards, you have Breon Pass. You have LJ Thomas, who's a freshman coming in. You have Casey Morsell. You have Duanu. You have Ernest Ross and Greg Gant. That's it. That's all the guys you have committed to this program right now. And I mean, that's crazy. You literally have 6 guys that are committed to this team right now for next season. So it's but I mean, Justin Cook, throws out there that yes, I mean that we're going after the guy potentially from the University of Florida decommitted, and appreciate you just tuning in with us. So again, it's not necessarily time to throw in the dumpster fire yet, but it's definitely
already a dumpster
fire. Yeah, pretty much. So
collected daily.
Yeah, exactly. So Greg, I'll hand it to you, and then Michael, I'll let you wrap it up for us. But Greg, anything to add to that?
Yeah, I mean, Macon's right. It's just like, when you have a head coach come in, and someone gets fired, and you're always going to have these decommits. It's nothing new. Now, I will say he did at least wait for both of the assistant coaches to come on board. Maybe he had some talks with them. Maybe he didn't feel it outright. But the one takeaway I'm going to take away from this is you lose this guy who's an incoming freshman. Now you're probably going to have to recruit 2 guys. And the reason I say that is you have to grab someone from the transfer portal now, which is only going to probably have 1 to 2 years. And then you're going to have to transfer. You're going to have to get someone else from the transfer portal because you probably figured you would have had this guy for 2 to 3 years. Obviously, depending on if he blew up or whatever. But typically, you're going to have him about 2 to 3 years. So there's a good chance now you have to recruit 2 instead of just the 1.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Michael?
I don't know. Oh, man. I've had a lot of thoughts, but it's just like, it's not where you want to be, building your team off the transfer portal. I mean, it's good I think the transfer portal overall is a good thing, that you can go and get a veteran guy that you might need to fill a spot, but it's hard to build a whole roster off of it.
Right.
Like Macon was saying, I'm not that surprised he's decommitted. Because some knee left. But yeah, it's just tough
well,
right now.
and
just want to fast forward through and get to next season already because this whole off season is just it's going to be unbearable.
It's just a pile on, right? Like, it's just like, what else more can we do? Like, what other negativity can happen within this program?
Let me say this though, because I think you made a comment that you can't build off of transfer portal. I kind of think you can, because you can get guys who are like, you're still seeing guys like, you're seeing like freshmen and sophomores transfer that you can still get for 2 or 3 years. I think you can. It's just, I think what's not sustainable personally is the stuff that like you see Kentucky and Duke do all the time, like the one and dones. Like it is, I think we got an interview coming out with another coach for a different sport coming out, but how some of these teams have had like one and done success for so long. From their perspective as a coach, it's like, how is that even possible to continue doing that? So I don't think State's not looking for the one and done. I think Keatt has done a good job trying to find guys who clearly are talented. I think you've seen that with Josh Hall and Jalen LeCue. You've seen that a few of these guys, Seabrons, become something, Terquavian. So Keats has an eye for the talent. So that's what makes me really disappointed that Phillips is going to leave, because I can bank on the fact that Keats sees talent and he knows what he's looking for. But you can build off the transfer portal. Like, we got mentioned here. Mentioned you can get those. There's a few Ole Miss guys. I think one guy I heard one guy was down. Rodriguez was looking somewhere out west potentially too. But you can build off.
Yeah, you're right.
But it should be supplemental.
It's not great. You need the freshmen too. Yeah. So. It is not a good look if you're constantly rostered with transfer portal guys. But if you're winning, who cares? But I get
you're right. Wake Forest did it. Texas Tech did it.
So, Auburn
did it. Yeah,
I think Iowa State too, right?
It's just a matter of that. It's just been negative on negative on negative reason. Like ready for like we've been talking for a while about these Ole Miss transfers. The University of Florida guys. So it's like, let's get one of them in. Like let's get some excitement. In the program. So that's the thing, is that I don't think that today was necessarily like, oh, terrible. It's just like, it's not what we wanted to hear. I think that's really how that's basically what we tweet out. We didn't say like, darn, this is terrible. We just said this is not what we want to hear. So, but if we had
go ahead, Michael, could have gotten if we could have gotten a transfer or 2 already committed, and then we got the news Sean Phillips was decommitting, it'd be a totally different mood.
That's fine. I feel like. Right. But again, Shane makes a good point, saying that we wanted a new staff, and now we complain about what comes with the new staff. And I agree with you. Again, we wanted a new coaching staff besides Keats, and we got it, and we got 2 guys that, again, we'll talk a little bit more about. But I think that we can say, we feel confident about their background, that they could be good additions to the program. And so with losing assistants, loses some of that pool from some of these recruits that were signed, to us. So again, it's it's the nature of the beast, I guess. So, but
Yeah.
At the end of the day,
so-
though, this should only be a 1 to 2 person type thing, not half your roster or over half your roster. you
Right.
know? So hopefully
Right.
this is the exception, not the rule.
Absolutely. No,
it's-
well, and Rusty brings up, is this the lowest state of affairs with men's basketball in modern NC State history? I'm 53, and it seems that way. I mean, again, it's tough to really say because obviously, you feel the most about this offseason because you're in this offseason, but it's really tough to kind of remember. But I can't remember a season recently where you're heading into next season and literally have no idea who's going to be even one of your main guys. I mean, you have a feeling about who it could be, but you're not like, oh, next season we got this guy and this guy. It's like, no, next season, who knows? It's
too soon. It's too early to really get excited. But
again,
I
a
would
lot
say
of
the
that
Les
too-
Robinson years were pretty lean.
True.
When they had the playing game named after him. I mean, that those were pretty lean years. So, but
true.
yeah, I think you're right. I think this is the most current that it feels the worst
from recent. Yep. So Macon, I want to get your thoughts. Obviously, we haven't had the chance to talk since or talk about really the new assistant coaches coming in. So want to kind of get your thoughts. I mean, it seems like overall, great solid background. Definitely seems like they're great on the recruiting trail. Can definitely help us there. Specifically in the transfer portal. So, I mean, to me, sitting here, and I think to all of us, it seems pretty positive. I mean, would you agree? And can you kind of add on that if you do agree?
I mean, from a resume perspective, yeah, I think they are definitely upgrades from. I can't remember who it was. I think it wasn't Sumney. It was the other coach. I can't remember his name. Roberson. And he's a high school coach, and he really it's anything's an upgrade from that, in my opinion. So, with Levi Watkins, I think that is a nostalgic hire to a degree. I think partly. I think he's a very good option to get from a resume standpoint, not just because he's an NC State guy, but the fact that he is an NC State guy adds a lot.
It helps.
So, and then the other guy, I can't remember the other coach's name from Clemson. I'm blanking on his name. You guys might help me out. You remember? Kareem Richardson. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I know he is also regarded as a very good recruiter. And I think he was at Louisville when Kevin Keatt was there. So
he was
the connection there.
Was the head coach.
Yeah. So those are going to be upgrades. I have heard Richardson is a very good recruiter. I think both bring some, I don't know the word is clout, but they bring some prestige more in the recruiting side of things, which I think you need right now of your state because you need the talent. So I like it. I don't know who they are behind the scenes, but I like the resume. So.
Well, and I mean, then it's not like we're going to see them, in front of the camera. Hopefully Keatt is the one we see in front of the camera. So, hey, as long as they kill on the recruiting trail and develop these guys behind the camera, then that's all I care about. Shoot. So,
and it also kind of reaffirms that this isn't a 1-year deal for Keatt either. Like, when you bring in these new coaches, I think a lot of coaches aren't going to come in if there's not stability for at least a couple of years. So I think it's already. Well, yeah, I mean, you do, but I'm sure there was conversations had. So
sure. But I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, again, it just seems like, again, the annoying thing is that literally when Shire and Hubert Davis got hired, we were sitting here on this live stream saying that the reason why we wanted Keatt is because we didn't want to start over just like them. We wanted to basically build off of what we already had. But it seems like with the way that the roster is right now, and getting a new coaching staff, that almost seems like we're starting over. So that's kind of my annoyance right now, is it just feels that way, that from a culture perspective, from a roster makeup perspective, from a game perspective, we're going to be changing a lot of things. And so, but again, at the end of the day, it is what it is. But new coaching staff or not, it's still, I still feel like that Keatt has to give some kind of excitement heading into next season. He has to, again, otherwise it just will be a useless season because you don't even have ticket sales. You know what I mean? Like, at the end of the day, I mean, money's what speaks. And then if you're not selling tickets, getting fans in the seats even before the games even start, then you're losing before the ball even gets thrown up in the air. Like, I mean, that's kind of my 2 cents on it. But well, losing / putting you way behind the 8 ball, because then you're catching up. So,
right.
But
I mean, I think that what's his face had the AD Book Oregon had to put out a statement saying Keatt is our guy. That's usually not a good sign, anyways. So, I really think, in my opinion, I think like we said a little earlier, it's two things. One, he wanted to give Keatt a fair shake with the NCAA stuff, and 2, money. So I think money is probably more than anything, to be honest with you. So I think Keatt's got 2 good hires. So I think that looks good to Boo in that regard. I don't know. I think you're not starting over in my mind if you can get back Sebron and Smith. I think but I'm gonna tell you guys what I personally think both of those guys are gone. I just think when you start putting money in front of those guys, like 5-6 figures, likely 6 figures. Say they make $80,000 playing basketball in Greensboro. I mean, those guys probably, from what I understand, they just didn't have a lot. They weren't like financially like crazy well off, from what I understand. So it was like you start putting money like that to play basketball for a living. I mean, maybe I'm not making like $2.5 million or $3 million in my rookie contract, but if I'm willing to make close to $100,000 playing,
G League's over 100.
Yeah. So if I can make 6 figures playing basketball right now versus coming back to a team that was losing, I mean,
you got to go to class.
I wouldn't blame them. So it's I think they will. But I think the only guy I think Sebron and Smith come back and play themselves in the first round. That's the only thing.
Yep. But again, keep in mind though that today's age, you can easily make more in college than you even can in the G League, and that's where we are.
But you're making assumptions.
Well,
sure.
I will say this:
I think
this is where the NIL is going to come into play. I think if you have any chance to get Smith and or Sebron back,
you got to get a good deal.
Have some sort of really good NIL deal.
Yeah,
I mean,
which they could.
It has to be equal. It has to be equal or greater too. Probably greater. It actually has to be greater. I think in this instance, I think it would have to be greater than the minimum in the G League.
I agree.
Yeah.
And I don't know, maybe
because you still have to go to class. So think about just going to play ball.
I can hold over for a year, and let's say I make $70,000, $60,000 in 1 year, just to hold me over, and then I can go make at least that $100,000 plus next year, or $1 million or more. Maybe I'd be willing to say I'll take the 60 now. I don't know. Yeah, but I get what you're saying.
Yeah. Well, I don't think either opinion is wrong. Like I think it could be a 50-50. No, I think you're spot on though. I mean, if I'm a player, it's about, do I bet on myself or do I take the easy money and go, okay, I'm done. Like this is too complicated here. I can go play basketball 24/7. I can get bigger, stronger, and I still have a chance in 2 years to make the $2 or $3 million. Like I could see it either way.
Go ahead, Michael.
I was just going to say I saw Terquavion give an interview with ESPN where he said he's when entering the draft process and that he's going to evaluate his options, but he wants to be a top 20 pick, which I don't know if he would be right now. So
I don't think
it's not happening.
Yeah. I mean, if Baycock's not even a top 20,
right?
Yeah,
and it's a different position. And I get it, but I mean, I think but I mean, he's putting up doubles every game.
And even talking to my father-in-law, who's a diehard Carolina fan, even he admitted that Baycott almost pretty much carried UNC to the national championship game. Without Baycott, there was no national championship. Simple as that. So, but yeah, no. Again, obviously, yes, I'm making assumptions, but I mean, then it's very much an option. And obviously, there's no way we can speculate that. There's no way we're going to know about that until it actually happens in terms of NIL deals. But I'm just saying that, I mean, with a guy like Sebron and Big T, with the idea of them coming back, there's a lot of businesses, in the Raleigh area that would be more than happy to, sure, I'll throw some money your way. If you just promote my business, absolutely. Like, it's definitely out there. But so switching over, one thing one other negative I wanted to talk about with a different cousin of a sport is women's basketball. And this isn't necessarily a negative of like, like terrible. It's just like a what the heck. So literally a week ago today, or what, was the WNBA draft, and so obviously the biggest piece of news was Alyssa Kunang going 17th overall, in I think the 5th pick in the second round, to the Seattle Storm. And I tell you guys, I had my camera ready at like the 5th overall pick, like really ready, like ready to get a video of it. And literally from every pick from there on, I was just, and it, like my reaction was always the same thing. Like, are you serious right now? Like they totally took 3 centers before Kunane, but yet Kunane was a 2-year in a row second team All-American behind none of those 3, behind Aaliyah Boston. So literally 2 years in a row, voters, a league of voters said that Kunane and Aaliyah Boston are better than either of those 3, and they got taken over her. So again, I'm not necessarily saying that, I mean, that hurts her anyway. At the end of the day, Kunane's going to be Kunane, and she's going to ball out. And so I'm not necessarily worried about her, but it's just it's annoyance for me as a State fan, because I would have really loved to have added a first round draft pick to the WBB, to the women's basketball program's resume. Say that we got another first round pick. And I think all of us would have easily said that Kunane is no doubtedly a first round pick, just not even close. It's just like, go ahead and put a stamp on it. It's done. So, I mean,
well, it doesn't help. There's only 12 teams in the league.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, in the NBA, it should be, yeah.
But still.
No, but still, yeah, like top 12, I would have said for sure.
I'm just curious to know why she fell. I imagine with the other players, generally speaking, teams like drafting for potential. And I wonder if they're thinking Elisa's has already kind of, I don't want to say reached her ceiling, but kind of like you kind of already know what you're getting, but there's maybe players who are still a little raw that they could blossom into something, even more athletic. I don't know, because I think Elisa's just proven it. Like, I don't know. I just thought it was interesting to be curious to know why she fell. I don't know the answer.
That's a good take, though. I mean, a lot of these teams do draft on obviously its potential, but like you're saying, they fit our system, right? And some of that's just that. It's the system, and the way the team is different, they run. And now these leagues want these long guards, that can shoot. Like, and you've even said, Macon, like the game is a lot different, but the women's is still a little bit more traditional. So to me, that was kind of a shock that she wasn't a top 10 pick.
Yeah.
But see, again, like in today's women's basketball game, the 3-point is where it's at. That is the live or die is off the 3-pointer. And you literally could take a center that shoots 35% on average, depending on what night you're talking about, behind a 3. Like, none of those other 3 centers, or probably no other center in that draft, honestly, could do what she does down low on top of shooting 35% from the 3. So to me, I don't really understand. I get it. Yes, that maybe the other centers are definitely more dominant down low for sure. But I mean, I don't know. I didn't really understand it. Just Kunane was just such a great all around center that I thought would have been perfect. But and she still, I mean, not to say that she isn't perfect, but I'm just saying that it would have been that every single team would said, "Oh, I'm going to take her before any other center." But
I will say this: NBC Sports. I'm just looking at an article that said winners and losers from the WNBA draft, and they definitely have Seattle having as a winner. Like, she would have. Everybody thought she's a lock for a top 10 pick, and they got her at 17. She can score on all 3 levels as a center. They thought that was a steal for them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and they're good, and they're a good team too, from what I understand. Like, they're one of the top teams, and she gets to go play with Sue Bird, which is a legend in and of itself. So
that's crazy.
I think she's gonna have So I think she's gonna be surrounded with some good talent. Plus, Raina's out there right now too on a tryout basis.
Yeah, that'll be nice. Have your point guard out there. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, and honestly too, I think I think Seattle. Obviously, Seattle's calling Arena because obviously the idea of having potentially the point guard who played with Kunane for 2 years on your team, then that helps a lot. For sure, having that chemistry there. That it makes it a lot more enticing to sign Reina. So, so absolutely. And then obviously the other piece of big news is Kayla Jones also getting drafted. I think it was 22nd overall. Yep. 22nd overall to the Minnesota Lynx. So again, awesome to see 3 players get inside the WNBA rosters. Tryouts rosters, but
Kayla Jones considered to be a draft pick. I don't know if she was or not because she was pretty shocked in her video she posted when she got drafted.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think she was kind of a fringe.
Yeah,
I think they only do I don't think they only do 2 rounds. So
3.
2 rounds.
Oh, 3.
3 rounds.
Yeah.
Maybe she was shocked when she got picked when she did, where she did.
Yeah.
Right.
That early.
Well, and again, obviously from the reaction from the Minnesota Lynx office, I mean, they had their eyes on her and were super, super stoked to get her. So, and I mean, us as State fans, we completely understand why. Because I mean, that girl, she's a firecracker. She could do it all, but she also brings a ton of energy to the court. So again, I mean, to me, she's well worth the 22nd overall pick. Well worth it. So, but again, adds to it. So before we talk about Mimi Collins, I wanted to touch base on David's comment saying, how can what happened today not be bad? We couldn't stop anybody inside. Now lost Manny Bates and Phillips, 2 great defensive players. Macon, would you like to comment back on that?
I'm reading through this comment here. I was looking at something else. I would say it is a negative. I know there's going to be some. Again, I think people are going to paint the transfer portal as, look, State can still get impact players in the transfer portal. They can still get impact centers and point guards. They're going to have to, and those guys will have experience where Sean Phillips doesn't. Maybe Sean Phillips is a guy because we're thinking, okay, he's a 4-star guy going to come in. He's going to immediately be like a 12-6 player. Well, we don't know that. He might, but he's. You can go and get a guy, and you can go and get a guy in the transfer portal right now who is averaging 12-6 potentially. And but I will say it is a negative in my mind, no matter how you look at it from a perception standpoint. The general fans gonna look at recruiting rankings and see, oh, State lost a recruit, and they only have one guy when they thought they might have gotten him and the early enrollee with Dillingham, but that didn't happen. So. It is a negative. I think anybody who starts to sugarcoat it, I think is a little rose-tinted glasses, but I think we're trying to look at it pretty fairly. It's like it's not great, but State can still make up for it. It's just not a good look, from a PR standpoint, if you will.
Yeah.
Was Gibson a 4-star coming in?
Gibson.
Was he a 3?
He was a 3-star at most.
Was he a 3? Yeah.
Jalen Gibson. Oh, Jalen Gibson. Yeah, he was a 3-star guy. He committed to Wake Forest originally. And
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. The only reason I was saying that is there's no guarantee, right, that they're going to come in and be that guy to start off with. Some of these guys that are coming in at 4 stars are projects, and they really don't make that step to the second year. Kind of like Manny, his first year was very raw, and then the second year he stepped up. So there was no guarantees about Phillips coming in right away.
Now, Ernest Ross, I think he was a 4-star guy.
Yeah, I think you're right there. But the point was, and just to piggyback off you making, is there's no guarantee he was going to be, like you said, a 12-5, 12-6 kind of guy coming in. So we as fans like to put high expectations on these kids, and they don't all develop at the same rate.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely negative, but it's just like there's still plenty of time, and Keatt will get players into the portal. It's not like we're losing Sean Phillips and not replacing him with anybody going into next season. So just
and expect this to happen quick, because May 1st is the deadline. So it'll start happening really quick.
Yep. So jumping back in, obviously one of the biggest other pieces of positive news from the women's basketball side was the announcement of transfer Mimi Collins from the University of Maryland, who also spent her time as started off her career at Tennessee before the coach got fired before Kelly Harper. So for those who don't know, Mimi Collins is a front court player that averaged 7.9 points and 4.8 rebounds per game. While starting 15 of 32 games for Maryland. In the season prior, she actually averaged 10.6 points and 6.2 rebounds. So again, she's a career 49% shooter inside the arc, 38.3 shooter from the 3, and she's also a career 78% free throw shooter. Again, I mean, definitely a solid player that gives a lot of gives that size, because I think with Camille Hobby, she's not necessarily the size player per se. She's more of the nitty gritty, she just goes after it kind of player. But I think you actually need somebody with some height, which Mimi Collins can definitely give you. But one other thing I wanted to kind of throw into this conversation as well is so Women's Hoops actually from Twitter put out a tweet out there saying that read an article NC State has 6 available scholarships. Going to be interesting to see how Westmore rebuilds. Diamond Johnson, Jakia Brown Turner, and Jada Boyd are back. They brought in Mimi Collins from Maryland. I expect Camille Hobby and Isaiah James to play more. And somebody quote tweeted it saying, "Y'all are sleeping on Madison Hayes," and that was actually, yeah, no, for sure. The guy who tweeted Dre beat me to it, but we retweeted and liked it, and deservedly so, because again, it's Madison Hayes is, again, I've said all along that I've been a huge fan of Madison, so I'm more excited about her playing and seeing what she can do with some serious minutes, before anybody else. Like I'm stoked to see her play. See what she can do, because I think she can be a huge energy person for this team. So
yeah, she's the same kind of size as Jakia Brown Turner. They're both 6-foot guards for girls, and that's pretty big for a guard on the outside. And I think for her, she took a year to learn the system coming from Mississippi State. So yeah, I think she could be. I would be surprised. I don't know if she's gonna be a starter or not, but I think she's a 5-star player. So the talent is certainly there. I think it's just getting everything to click.
Yeah, absolutely. Greg, anything to add to that?
No, it'll be interesting. I mean, Wes likes to do like a kind of like Keatt's with a 3 guard. So yeah, you have James and you have Diamond. Obviously, will be running point, and then you have Jakia. So yeah, there's going to be plenty of shots to go around this upcoming season, and I definitely see Madison in right there in the mix, and then James has flashed, and so yeah, I think we're going to be fine. We just probably need another point guard at some point, because we did lose 2 in the transfer portal, and so. Yeah, I think we'll be fine. 6 is. I was actually kind of surprised at that number of 6 scholarships available. I didn't think we had that many, but it kind of makes sense now with losing 3 or 4, and then 2 in the transfer. So,
yep,
4 seniors, right?
Yeah, 4 seniors and then 2 transfers. So that does make sense. Yeah, that makes sense. I didn't put it together until you just said that, but I'm excited. I mean, I think it's a retool. David already mentioned what I was thinking about. Sierra Rivers. Yep, Sanaya Rivers, sorry. From South Carolina, there's potential there. She'll have 3 years wherever she transfers to. So that would be a great get. Yeah, I'm not worried. I mean, Wes knows what he's doing. I don't question the women's basketball. So, and Wes I trust.
Well, and again, I've said this before. I'll remind for those who haven't heard it again that when they were at the ACC women's basketball tournament, then Coach Moore was getting interviewed. One of the things that really stood out to me was how basically whoever it was that was talking interviewing him was talking about losing 4 seniors next year, and talking about like, how are you gonna what's your mindset gonna be heading into next season? He was like, oh, transfer portal, which I mean, like he literally said it like that, almost like sounded like, oh, like I am going to be like glued into the transfer portal, which I mean, if you have players like Jakia Brown Turner, Diamond Johnson, Camille Hobby, Madison Hayes, I mean, most coaches would be like, yeah, no, we'll just, get a couple players and build around it and we'll be fine. But like to him, it almost like came off as like, oh gosh, like, yeah, we definitely need help. So I mean, to me, that was almost like again, a huge, I guess, positive, because obviously it just shows, just like you were saying, Greg, I mean, obviously the standards that he has is like, I mean, that's a great nucleus to have, but we need more. Like, we need more, and I'm going to get more. And so, I mean, obviously, Sanaya Rivers, being from Wilmington, I mean, it's a very interesting and very doable, possibility of getting her over here. So, Lynn asked about kind of what are the other possibilities of women's basketball. I think that's the one that's the most, interesting. But
there's one out of Maryland still that we talked about a couple weeks ago that we liked. A couple of the coaches liked her tweet, so it was just kind of something that I picked up on. No guarantees there, but
and then another one from Notre Dame, if I'm not mistaken, correct?
Yep.
Okay,
yeah.
So again, we'll see again, but definitely of all the sports right now, women's basketball is the least one of any kind of sweat whatsoever.
Yeah. Right.
So gotta talk a little bit here again. Now heading into more of the positives. Gotta talk about Pac-9 here. Obviously huge series this has come up. Well, I would say huge 4 games, honestly. And I know Rusty's been dying to talk about it, and I'm sure Justin's still with us. And if he is, I know he was too. But I mean, 4 games, 3 of them coming from behind, and specifically the one Boston College game, we were down 6-0 heading into the 7th. If I'm not mistaken, we came back and won. And again, I'll just make one comment on it, and then Greg, I want to kind of hear your thoughts on it. But like, to me, it just seems like, even though we're so young, and I mean, obviously, like, the nucleus of this team is a very young team with guys like Josh Hood, Tommy White, Pololi, James Groover. They're young guys. They still have at least a year or 2 left in them, and yet it seems like we're really maturing a lot as the season goes. Again, I mean, it really does take maturity and guys that stick together, fight through adversity, and find a way to win. And again, against Boston College and UNCW team are not like studs. I mean, they're not like Louisville's, but I mean, they're solid teams, and and that we're playing well. And for us to just find a way to get back into that game and into all of those games, and I think really salvage what could have been. If we would have lost to UNCW, that would have hurt a lot. If we would have, lost, even 1 game to Boston College, it could have hurt. It's not a lot, but it could have hurt. So, it's huge, especially heading into the rest of the season where you got Louisville, UNC, Duke. So, I mean, besides Louisville, you got UNC, Duke, Wake Forest, and so all 3 of those series are definitely winnable. And right now we're sitting tied for first in the Atlantic. It's
it's interesting because the ACC website has not updated that. They have Louisville in first right now.
Yeah,
really.
Percentage points though,
because they go by percentage.
Right, because basically we've played 2 ACC games less than them, and we've won 1 more than them. We've lost 1 more. Well, yeah. So anyway, go ahead, Greg.
Yeah, no, big week. Actually, just recapping. Great time coming back in those games. A lot of heart. I think you mentioned it, or someone on our Twitter mentioned it. Like, this could be the kind of win that propels them into something bigger. And I agree with that. Just the never say die attitude. There's a reason you have 27 outs in a game and you get to use them all. So the mere fact that we were able to come back late shows a lot of heart. I think, again, because this team is so young, that Coach A. Vince had to shuffle his lineup around and just trying to figure out the right combinations. It's been a work in progress all season. Errors are still an issue, but if we win, that's all that matters at the end of the day. But that is something that we do still need to clean up. We just can't be given these, especially as we're getting later in the season. We're starting to play much better ACC opponents, and so they will take advantage of that. We got to get right this week, though. We're only 7-6 on the road for the season, and we got 4 big ones coming up. So we definitely need to flip that some. But we just passed the halfway mark in the ACC play, which is crazy. So we still got almost a half an ACC season.
Yeah.
We still there's still a ton of time. Things are going to shuffle. Just looking at the standings, there's so many teams right around 500 in ACC play. So if we can just, get about another 6 or 7 wins under our belt, we'll get a seed coming into it, and that's big when it comes to tiebreakers in the tournament, because whoever's the higher seed gets the automatic push through if there's ties in the round robin. So a lot of big baseball still coming up.
Absolutely, yeah. Because one other thing I want to add too, but before I hand off to you, Michael, is it's God, I forgot what I was going to say. Never mind. Go ahead, Michael. Go ahead.
No, yeah, that was an exciting weekend. I know it was against the worst team in the ACC, but baseball, every game's tough. Boston College is a good offensive team. I mean, I think they have 2 guys who had 11 or more home runs on the season. I saw that somewhere today. And yeah, but like Greg was saying, the errors, they're just killing us. Some of these games, we might have, been able to put away earlier to clean up the defensive issues. But yeah, it's a big series this week, and I'm excited for it against Louisville.
And I think obviously 2 things go into it, obviously with how young the team is, but also too, obviously, I'm sure the shuffling of the roster where we've moved a lot of people around. It's that makes it tough as well. But again, that comes with a young team. So it's, and again, they'll the guys will get better again. I'm sure here and here as soon as possible. Avon's trying to lock down his roster for the rest of the season.
Yeah.
But the thing I was going to say though is that I think one of the things which makes me most excited heading into the rest of the season, but specifically into the ACC postseason, is that there's not really a dominant team in the ACC. Like Virginia is really, really good. Virginia Tech, come to find out, even though we were saying, oh my gosh, we lost Virginia Tech, come to find out they're pretty good too. And but again, there's not like a dominant team this year. Well, but I mean, even Miami, I mean, they've had, I think they lost last week, but so again, it's not like they're beating everybody in their sights. Like basically what I'm saying is that, I mean, come that time, whoever's the hottest team takes it. And who's to say it can't be us? I think if we can figure out these errors, if we can set this lineup, let the guys get into the flow of it, and fix these errors, we're gonna be a tough team to beat. Now I know David Jones talks about Sam, and obviously nothing's been official yet. Obviously we don't really know much, but obviously he's not playing, which is a bummer. But one of the things you guys say is got to give hats off to the rest of the bullpen, the Logan Adams, the Logan Whitaker, the Matt Wilsons, all those guys. But I mean specifically Villeman. Villeman has been lights out.
He's so good, man.
He's ridiculous. So
he wears the digital receiver on his wrist, and he just like looks down, gets the pitch, and throws it. And like he's so quick with his delivery. Yeah. It's awesome.
Yep. And also to making David points out that VT actually swept Miami, which is again just it's crazy.
So Miami had a really good run there for a little bit too. So that's all I was getting at.
So if they got swept, before this weekend, Miami was 14-1 in the ACC.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep. 14.
It's really good.
I didn't realize that.
Crazy.
Hey, when you were giving your shouts out, let's give another shout out to Cannon Silver. He had a great weekend.
Yes, he did.
Pitching for us. But he came up big. Did. So yeah, I mean, and he pretty much, I think he was pretty much filling in for Sam in that rotation spot. So yeah, I mean, these guys are stepping up as the season gets along. They get opportunities and they're making the most of it. And so it definitely bodes well as we get to the final third of the season here coming up after this weekend.
Doesn't Groover have like a 20-game hit streak or something?
Yeah.
He's the one that's putting it all together right now.
Yeah.
And Noah Souls, both of them are doing good.
Yeah, Noah
Souls was a good
smokes.
one. Yeah, he was a good addition because that right field we were trying to figure that out for a while. We were kind of playing different guys earlier in the season, and Souls is kind of just taking that over here in the last 2 or 3 weeks. So they're figuring it out.
Yeah, and again, it's great because again, looking at the main starting lineup of basically Peyton Green, Devontae Brown, Jacob Kozart, Josh Hood, Dominic Pololi, JT Jarrett, Tommy Wright, James, and Noah. I mean, it's honestly gotten to the point where, because I know last season, and I'm not sitting here saying like, we're going to be just as good as we were last season, but I think last season one of the things that really paid off for us is that we had our key set of guys. And now the one thing which I will say is, I mean, there's been some other guys this season that have done good things as well, like the Eddie Izerts, jumped in there a couple times, done well. But obviously having those key set guys that any one of them at any one point can make plays, obviously from the batter's box is awesome. Again, it's a great thing. And because I think that honestly, this year we're feeling just as excited, if not more excited, this year about our bullpen than we were last season at this point. So, now obviously getting if we can get Sam Highfield back, that would make things a lot better. But even still, I mean, again, Kane Silver has a 2.13 ERA. Like he's 5-0, like, and he's had 14 appearances. So, he's done amazing, and obviously Logan's done his job, and so again, I think it's a good looking up right now. And obviously, who was it? Somebody pointed out about this Louisville series is huge. Like if we could clinch a series this weekend at Louisville, because also too that gives us firm clutch of first place, which is huge.
Yeah,
so
definitely.
Yeah, I mean, there's 4 teams within basically a game and a half in the Atlantic for first place. So, we still have Wake Forest in hand. We've only 2 series we have left in the Atlantic is both Louisville and Wake Forest. And I believe
probably
Louisville,
the toughest ones.
Yeah, exactly. And I think Wake Forest is at home if I'm correct. I don't remember. But we have to win I mean, every ACC game, if you're going to lose any games, lose the midweek games,
Right.
and bank all your wins for the weekend. Obviously, you want to win them all, but midweek
Yeah.
games aren't as devastating as the weekend series that have left.
Well, specifically Wednesday against High Point, because Macon and I will be there. So we prefer if they didn't lose in front of us. So,
Yeah.
no. But yeah, and again, Beck Wolfpack 813 says last year's team was special. And I mean, and again, that's why I said there's no way are we sitting here comparing them, but it's just at the end of the day, it's more of, you know, obviously the guys who are on this team look at last season and you know, because again, it's kind of like a recipe. You know, what was the formula last year that really worked for last year's team? And one of the things that really worked is we had a key set of guys that hit really well at the right time. And I think that right now, all these guys are hitting well at the right time. Tommy White is hitting well. James Gruber is hitting a 20-game winning streak. Pololi's doing, you know, hitting well. JT Jarrett's still doing his thing, you know, with a little bit of bunt, a little bit of single here and there. Devontae is finding the fence. Again, like we're getting runs in when we need to. So that's huge. And then on top of it, we have a great bullpen right now with a great closer. Probably. And like Chris Millman could give Evan Justice a run for his money. That's all I'm saying on that. But go ahead, Michael.
I was just gonna say, I mean, let's remember last year, halfway through the season, nobody was thinking that team was going to be a College World Series team. I mean,
no,
nope. It's all about May.
It's all about May. Yep, just like Ava says, just play your best baseball in May.
Or as the NSYNC would say, it's got to be May.
There's a reason we.
So stupid.
Where's the crickets effect? Where's the crickets?
Yeah, we need a soundboard.
We did miss you. I mean,
That's hilarious. I'll sort myself out, guys. I'll talk to you guys.
Are you sure you're not a dad? That's a total.
Right.
That was a dad joke.
So, but yeah, again, obviously got to give hats off to Coach Hart, Coach Chrysler, and Coach Avon for doing an amazing job of getting these guys together, playing well at the right time. They're confident, they're excited, the chemistry is the highest it's ever been. The fan base itself is excited right now for this team. So again, right now, things are pointing in the right direction. That's all we're going to say about that. At the end of the day, you know, we still got a lot of baseball left for the postseason. So, and then David Jones asked, did Georgia Tech sweep UNC this weekend? I don't believe so.
2 out of 3.
I think 2 out of 3. Right, that's what I thought.
But Clemson got their first ACC series win in over almost a year. I think it was like
against Wake.
Against Wake, which was huge for us.
Oh,
so,
that's good.
Ouch.
So shout out Clemson baseball for helping us out.
Absolutely. And then Major Wolf says, I need help. Well, if there's anything to do,
we all do.
Anything we do, right? We're State fans. We all need help. So
there's a fan crisis line.
Right. Exactly. But yeah, obviously too, one of the things I saw earlier that I wanted to touch base about real quick is obviously with the Football Power Index coming out and not having us in the top 25 at number 26.
Come on, we were.
And once again,
you said you were starting off with a bad in the beginning of the show.
Are you surprised? Because no one should be surprised.
See, I'm saying this because it's not really bad, but it's not really. I mean, it's not good, but I mean, it's not bad. I mean, it's just like because anybody who's freaking out right now just doesn't. Well, anybody who's freaking out right now just doesn't know what the Football Power Index is. It's all analytics. It's all algorithms.
It's just an equation, yeah.
It's
and you can manipulate. You can manipulate the equation however you want.
I like in-game fortune alphas thing. Football per idiots, right?
That's actually really good.
Yeah,
I'm surprised Doran hasn't come up with that one.
No, I mean, like, come on, State's never gotten love in the media, like hardly. Now, I'm even surprised that we're getting attention like a top 10, top 15 at all. So,
sure.
At the end of the day, guys, we'll just play on the field. Who cares? We're going to win.
Exactly.
Well, but
it's really to have a conversation to keep it in the news, right? Like, so there's a reason they strategically drop it on. I think it was like last Tuesday or Wednesday, whenever it came out. It's to keep college football relevant.
Yeah, I mean, Texas was at number 6.
Yeah, but
wait,
I mean,
who was at number 6?
Texas.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, that tells you everything you need to know about it. But But the mere fact is, if anyone read the article that was dropped with it, there was lots of mentions of NC State. Kind of surprising that or overachieving that ranking if they had to make early predictions. So the sky isn't falling. It doesn't mean anything. The first poll that matters is the CFP that comes out in like mid-November. So everything else is just fun talking.
Yep.
Yeah,
absolutely.
like the AP poll doesn't matter anymore, really.
No. So it's just for fun people like us to talk about and just to get upset with, but it's not. It doesn't.
Well, and again, I mean, attention. Like, and because you really kind of look at it, because there's 4 teams, if I'm not mistaken, from the ACC that were ranked. It was Clemson number 4, Pittsburgh at 9, Carolina like 15 or something like that, and then
Wake,
the 4th one, Wake. Yeah, Wake.
They were like 21, 22. Oh, there was Pitt. That's right. You're right. You're right. Pitt.
Yeah, Pitt was like a 9.
It was it was Carolina, Pitt, Wake, and Clemson.
I like when I saw Pittsburgh at 9, I had to like go back and be like, can you pick us in the draft, right? Okay.
Yeah, right. He didn't come back.
I don't know about that. But yeah, no. So again, there's no beef in that whatsoever. And at the end of the day, again, hey, just like we said, NC State always does best as the underdog. So now, again, I think heading into the season, we're gonna get some of that juice that we rightfully deserve. But again, I think that hopefully with this team, it knows what it knows what it needs to do. Like, again, all these guys are coming back for one reason only, and that's to win the ACC championship. So I think, even if we were put as like a top 5, like they're going all the way, or like they're terrible, they're going to be last place in ACC, they're so overrated, then the guys, they're going to do what they're going to do. They're going to do what they need to do on the field, and they're going to whoop ECU's behind come September. That's the hope, right? So
but the biggest takeaway of that is just how weak the Coastal is. I mean, that really is the argument for that index. That the end takeaway is, well, you're ranking all these teams in the Coastal because in theory to win it all, you have to win your division to even qualify for the ACC tournament or the ACC football championship. So that's the only reason why Carolina is even in there, because of the weak Coastal.
Well, and I mean, like from the Coastal, look at how many new hires there were in the Coastal side, like Duke, Virginia Tech, Virginia, Georgia Tech, I think has a football program. And Miami has a new coach. So they have 4 new coaches, and then Georgia Tech, who I don't know exactly what they're
probably
doing
an
right
upgrade.
Hey, Texas Tech has a new coach too this year. Different. But State's got them on their schedule. Yeah, they do. Yep.
Texas Tech.
Okay.
Yep.
So my thing is, it's not ACC, but State's got a bunch of new coaches they're going to have to play against. So
sure. Yeah.
Fun fact: Texas Tech has the number 1 recruiting class for 2023 right now in the country.
Awesome.
I would never have guessed that. Never guessed
me
that.
either.
So, but I guess Patrick Mahomes coming back. Hey, everybody, make sure you come to Texas Tech. So, again, Wake Forest. I think Wake Forest is the only one from the ACC side that was like, yeah, they deserve to be top 25 for sure. But besides that, I didn't really expect any other 3. But yeah, and then David Jones says the Atlantic Division is going to be the hardest division in the country. Wow, that's a bold statement, Cotton.
I guess no disrespect to the SEC.
Well,
there
SEC
were only 2 last year. There were only 2 divisions in college football that had 3 9-win teams. One was the Atlantic, and the other was the Big Ten West with Ohio State, Michigan, and Michigan State, or East. I don't know which one they're in, but yeah.
ACC.
Well, but see, one thing is that that really stood out to me was I can't remember. I think it was Big Game Boomer put out there a picture where it showed Miami spring game last year that apparently was sold out. I was like, spring games sell out? I didn't even know that was a thing. Well, first of all, how do you even sell? I didn't even know that you sold tickets for spring games.
Well, the end zones were empty anyway. Someone tweeted
this year they were. Right. So basically it showed last year it was sold out and Derek King and then this year it was like empty. So in the Hard Rock. So but now on the other side, which I will say about the SEC though is hey, South Carolina was the doormat of the SEC, but But I mean, hey, I mean, they had a great crowd show up at their spring game, and they got Spencer Rattler. So and I'm saying this, again, my wife's a big time South Carolina fan, so she's all excited about it. So
yeah, I think
South
they'll be
Carolina's
greatly improved.
And Tennessee is going to be. I think Tennessee's going to be good this year. So again, SEC is going to be no joke this year.
Texas A&M bought half their recruiting class, like $33 million. So
and see, again, I want to talk a little bit because again, this is kind of ACC related. But Jimbo Fisher is a guy that when he went to Texas A&M, I was like, go whoop some hightail, Jimbo. Go win it all. Go get everything you deserve. Because I mean, I was the guy that there was like Florida State fans that I would ask, like, you didn't want Jimbo to go, right? Expect them to be like, no, of course not. You won a national championship for us a couple years ago. But I'm like, oh yeah, no, I wanted him gone, man. He was overpaid. He wasn't performing. I was like, seriously? Like, come on, get out of here. So I wanted him to go. But honestly, records wise, he's not really doing. He's pretty much right on with what the last coach was doing. I think basically 4 or 5 years into his tenure at Texas A&M. So, I'm like, it's kind of a head scratcher.
Yeah. I did see that him and Kevin Sumlin have the same record through their first 5 years or something.
Yeah,
I mean, I think Jimbo has them in a better place than Sumlin did, but
sure.
Yeah, someone would just pull the random upset every now and then.
Yeah.
I think they're
and Johnny Manziel
now. Right.
Yeah, and
Mike Evans
too.
Yeah,
right. So, but yeah, I mean, again, I think so looking at the Atlantic for next year. I mean, obviously Wake Forest can be up there. Clemson's going to be good. I mean, they're now the interesting thing with Clemson is DJ Uiagalelei going to lose his job to a true freshman and Cade
Klubnik.
Cade Klubnik. And that'll be interesting.
He's not going to lose it out game one right now. So it'll be like DJ's going to start the season. So my curiosity is, if that were to happen, when will it happen? Do you guys look
Does it happen?
I mean, we got him game 4, right? Is it game
That's
4?
what I was about to say.
That's what I was going to get at.
But they got 2 ACC games before they play us. So I don't know.
Really?
Yeah. Georgia. They start the season with Georgia Tech.
Boston
Start the season with Wake Forest. I think.
I don't see them rotating in those games. Maybe they do.
No,
I don't
unless DJ just looks abysmal, which I don't think he's going to do.
No.
Personally, I think it would be if hypothetically, I'm not saying we would win. But let's say if we were to beat Clemson, I would be curious. I think they would evaluate the loss to NC State and then the how he's performed up till then on pulling or not.
Yeah, I don't think
maybe they roll into the NC State game with a QB controversy. They don't know who's going to start, and they want to keep State on their toes. So
yeah.
So I see it playing 2 different ways. One, that's a home game for Clemson. So if you're going to roll them out, that's the game you roll them out, right? Because it's a home crowd. It's not on the road. But I don't think you roll them against State's defense. So that would I would think he would get at least a half or so before that. I don't think he would just come in and that would be his first game. Who's their third game? Like who? I'm sure they got a cream puff in there somewhere.
It's some.
I forget, but
So I would think that would be the game that he would get the most action. You would assume that they would get ahead in that game.
They play Georgia Tech, and they play Furman, then they play Louisiana Tech, and
we play
Wake Forest. We're their 5th game.
5th game.
Yeah.
Is that our
first? Yeah. So it's our.
Is that our 4th?
It's our. Oh, I'm gonna say you're wrong.
Wait, I know, right? Because we have ECU, Connecticut.
It's our
Texas
5th game. Our 5th game.
It is our 5th game. Okay.
It is our 5th game. And then a cupcake. Charleston Southern. That's right.
Okay.
They don't get a cupcake for us. And I wouldn't even call Louisiana Tech a cupcake because they were tough last time we played them. But it's at Clemson at home. It's Georgia Tech, Furman, Louisiana Tech, Wake Forest, and then NC State. And then they have to go on the road to Boston College and then on the road to Florida State.
I mean, Clemson.
But they don't play Wake Forest before us, do they?
They do.
Yeah.
Wow. That's a tough one. And at Wake Forest, right?
At Wake Forest.
Forest.
I mean,
Well, I mean, hey, they play well. They play well at home. So
hey, that 25,000 strong will make some noise.
Yeah.
Yeah, but and then David Jones points out about Boston College. I mean, they're going to have a bounce back year, I feel like, and then obviously Louisville's come back with Lee Cunningham. So, I mean, I
Yeah.
agree. I think Atlantic could be up there for sure. But I mean, are they SEC level? No, but I mean,
Syracuse. I'm kidding.
yes, Syracuse. Oh boy, like watch out.
I don't know.
No,
I mean, this is a
again,
make or break for Dino, so this could be Dino's last year.
I love,
It
I
will
love,
be
I,
next year.
I like Dino a lot. I
I do
feel
like
bad
him
for
too.
him.
It
I
will
like
be.
Dino a lot.
The only reason why I wouldn't is if they're still really hurting with money. So
Right,
Right.
exactly.
You
So,
see, it's not
but
going to be the
again,
Carrier Dome anymore. Their lifetime deal is now expired somehow. It's not the Carrier
Really?
Dome anymore. Yeah.
no, they'll play the
really,
Carrier. They'll do
No,
the
he's talking about the naming rights. You're talking about the naming
The,
rights.
the
right?
naming rights, yeah.
naming
Supposedly
rights.
they had a lifetime deal with Carrier to name it the Carrier Dome, and somehow they've gotten out of that contract.
Trying to get money out of it, man. That would
Yeah.
be interesting.
They should
Wow.
somehow. I got an opinion. What are your thoughts before we head off? What are your thoughts about State playing at PNC Arena? Because I know that's a big thing. People like. Do you think they should play at PNC? Do you think they should move campus somewhere?
Football?
Move it to campus somewhere. Basketball.
No.
PNC.
Did you ask that, Michael?
No, he's
joke.
saying he's saying play
It's a
outdoors
joke.
at Carter Finley.
Oh,
That
okay.
might be better.
Yeah. Put the men's basketball team in Carter Finley. Put the football team in PNC. See what happens.
I like it.
I
like it.
I'm not a fan. I mean, everyone that has said anything that PNC was built for hockey, not basketball, so the sight lines aren't even that great. It's a big arena. Your fans are kind of far from the court, minus the student section. Everything that was right about Reynolds is wrong about PNC. So I think you only need about a 12 to 13 seat arena, 12 to 13,000 seat arena for basketball. I think what is PNC, like 18 or 19?
18, yeah.
Yeah. So
I don't know. I mean, when we're good, it's a good environment.
When it's full, it is
Yeah.
It's popping.
jumping. Man.
Oh, sure.
Yes.
But that's a big if your program's doing good. So, I mean, I'm kind of the opinion they should build something on Centennial and just like build some out there, maybe make it a little smaller. But I don't know, man. Like, I'm not saying like I just feel like though if we play in PNC and we were just like what we historically have always been, well, not always been, but we've historically been since the pre-90s and then moments here in the last 30 years. State could play there, but that's just not happening right now. So I think it's interesting.
Well, and
plus
again,
you have all the.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
We have
I
all
was just say, plus with all the PSLs and everything like that, a lot of the folks
Right.
don't even go to the games. So
we
even
own
if
it, right? We own it, right?
No, we share. We share
No,
with the
we
Hurricanes.
lease it.
It's a
Mhm.
50-50.
We lease it out. We lease it out though, right? To
No,
them, right?
It's no, it's the other way around.
Okay.
Mhm. Yeah.
So
Yeah,
it's
we have a
50-50
contract.
on the gate and all of that. But with all the PSLs that are sold, like those seats are taken for a lot of them, but they don't go. Like a lot of corporations have bought them up and yada yada
Right.
yada. They go unused. Only time
Right.
it gets used is Carolina or Duke.
And that hurts your basketball.
Yeah. Well,
Mhm.
and again, obviously, this is all just talks. Obviously, I mean, we're locked in. I mean, I don't. We're not going to head anywhere anytime soon. But and obviously, David Jones. Hopefully, Greg just answered that point about why there are empty seats on the lower levels. But the one thing that I would say that PNC does bring that maybe a arena offsite couldn't bring, at least immediately, is that it does have the wow factor in terms of, I mean, the scoreboard is obviously amazing, and then it's got all the lights, to add to theatrics, for entrances. Like, I mean, it's really cool, but it definitely needs the fans in order to really make it what it's supposed to be. Otherwise, it just like last year, it kind of looks like a joke a little bit. So
I was going to say, so we can see ourselves losing high def. I mean,
right.
like
exactly. That's how it was last year. That's how it was. Yeah. So, but
do you guys know when the PNC Arena renovations are actually going to happen?
It's supposed to take place like last year, but I mean, COVID and all that changed it.
Money's hurting everything, I think.
Yeah, I know they just signed off on it like last year. I think it's going to be next year. I know they've started some stuff with the roof and all of that because I think it was leaking. And I think the first major thing they did was the scoreboard and some of the LED boards on the side, like Leighton had said, but I know
Yeah.
they're supposed to redo like the club level and some of the entrances, but I don't know when
Yep.
it's supposed to officially take place. I know the new owner of the Canes, what is it, Dundon or whatever? I don't follow the
Yeah.
Canes, but
Dundon.
I know he was putting in a bunch of money into the project. So
Yeah, needs it. But again, all presumptive. But all right, y'all. Well, again, unfortunately, we are way past time. But again, hope y'all enjoyed this conversation here. Really appreciate everybody who tuned in. The Davids, the End Games, Justin, Major Wolf, all you guys, Rusty's, all you guys for tuning in. Really appreciate it. So make sure, again, if you haven't already, make sure once again hit that subscribe button. Again, it's free to do, and make sure that you don't miss out on any new content. Got to have a lot of exciting stuff coming up here. Got a brand new, incredibly exciting episode coming up here this week that you do not want to miss out on. Also, too, actually coming out with a vlog from the NC State football spring game coming out this week as well. So definitely don't want to miss out on all that. So again, to make sure you don't miss out on all of that, hit the subscribe button. It's free, dude, and you'll actually be notified whenever it gets released. Also, to give us a follow, Tuffy Talk Now, if you haven't already, on Twitter or Instagram, and also to give this video a like if you don't mind as well, and all of our videos a like if you don't mind. So with YouTube, we'll put this video and all of our videos in front of more NC State fans. And again, really do appreciate all y'all's time, and thank you as always. And hey, go Pack, y'all. We'll see y'all soon.